All right. I'll be moving this box around a little bit just to get it out of our way. But what you should see in front of you right now is a typical classroom for a Leo class. It's a little bit different because we have this access information. The class really isn't open to the students yet. First thing I want to bring to your attention is under news. I've already taken it out, but when you open your class initially, you're going to see a big red bulletin here that says, please remove this notice or something of that effect. I would like you to do that very first thing when you go into your classroom. The reason being, I have a capacity to go and scan the classes very quickly, literally like shuffling through a deck of cards. And I look for that. I look for that red. If that red is there, it means you've not been in your classroom, and I get real anxious. If that red is there, if the red is not there, it means you in your class, you're working on it, and I don't have to come wondering where you are. So please take that out. You see that I already have.
Art Wallenstein checking in.
Good, Art. Glad to see you. Okay. The this e-maintenance reserve, once the time period has gone by, you can just X that out yourself. The item that's due here is your welcome notice, and that's simple enough. You simply click on news, hit new news item, and you will get a text screen. You put your headline in, and here's your text screen. Looks like just any other Microsoft Word screen. You can choose your font, you can choose your size, and so on. This is supposed to be a welcome to CCJS 100 or 321 or wherever the case may be. It's supposed to be uplifting, supposed to be communicative. This is an opportunity for you to inform your students about your expectations, about your policy. If you want to caution them about dedicating time, effort, and energy to this class, what they can expect to see, things of that nature. Veteran instructors like to use or will use a patterned opening here, and that's fine. If you do that, I would recommend that you go to your old class, open up the greeting into the text screen, copy the text screen message that's in the old one, like that, copy it, come to the new, then either paste it in a Word document or go right to the new news item, open the new news item and paste it back in. It's possible to import these messages. It's possible to import other items the way we used to do in WebTyco. I would caution you not to do that because there's a tendency to over transfer and you end up with a lot of duplication, and if you do it incorrectly, you're also copying code as well as text. So the best advice is, if you are going to use some old material, copy it from your old class to a Word document, then from your Word document into your new classroom. Now, because I already have my news item, instead of publishing this, I'm going to cancel it. The other thing I would caution you about as far as importing, if you would import an old notice, the date of that old notice is going to appear. Let me go back to news. The date of the old news item will appear right here. So if you use a news item that was dated January 17th of 2015, your summer students are going to see that you wrote them their welcoming message last January or maybe last October. It sends the wrong message to the students. If you paste it in from a Word document, it'll have that date that you pasted it as the posted date. Okay, your if there was to be an effective date for this posting, it would be today. so that when the reviewers come in to see whether or not there is a news item, it's published as of today. It's already visible. So much for news.
How come I can't see it? I've written 2 news items. They're stored where it says reorder news items, but when I open up the course, they're not there. Is that because it's too early for them to be seen?
Not if you're in if you're in the instructor mode, you should be able to see them, Art. If you go to, I'm sorry, if I go, I gotta get this out of the way.
I've done something wrong because I've done this before, and I've
Check
got
and
2
see
news items.
when you go
They're
to
both on file.
when you go to go open up your when you can go to news, go to the news tool, and you'll see this screen. You come down to your welcome
Right.
message. You should be able to see it, and click on this little action arrow right here. All right, and you should be
Okay,
able.
I've got them. They're both here now.
Okay, you should be able to. Should say.
And I think I found them. They're both present. I got it. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, then we'll go back. Let me go back to.
Yep, I got them.
Let me go back to course home.
Okay.
And for the rest of us, let's see. Next thing on the, actually the first thing on the checklist, we're going to go to content. And we are going to go to start here. And when you first go into your classroom, this kind of shaded blue area, where it says name, it's going to be all X's. Where it says section number, that's going to be all X's. Your contact information is going to be somewhat obscured. That is all editable, and you need to edit that. And you edit it by simply clicking on that blue shaded area, and we get another text box. And everything that, anytime a text box appears, you can edit the material. I can take out this Esquire. I can correct this error because that would never connect because there's another space there. I can change all this. I can put in emergency only for my phone numbers, which, by the way, my experience is that the students have respected that. And when I get done with this, I update it. One of the faculty have a tendency to forget this area. They look at it, it's all X's, they don't know what to do with it. Simply click on the shaded area, change out the X's to the actual name, section number, and so on, and your contact information, and update it. The second place your identity occurs is under Ross.
Ross, are you?
What do you got, Art?
I lost where you started. Did you click on, like, your name, Art Wallenstein, where our picture is in the shaded blue area?
Start at content. You click,
Edit my user profile? Wait, I go to content?
go to content.
Oh, okay, I've just clicked content.
And then you go,
Fine.
you click on,
Week 1.
you come down to start here.
Yes, start here, okay.
And then on,
Click there?
correct. And then on the left hand side, you'll see under start here, you'll see this blue shaded area that has faculty information. And it'll have name and a bunch of X's and course and section and a bunch of X's.
Mm-hmm.
If you click on anywhere on that blue
Right.
shaded area, it turns into a text box that you can edit. And those X's come out and your name goes in and your course and section number goes
Good.
in and your contact information goes in. And then there's a little box at toward the bottom of that text box. It says update. You have to click that update. That's Leo's version of save.
Okay.
The other place where your identity exists is under roster. On the action bar at the top, you see roster, the third item from the left. From the right. Click on roster. Another selections between all faculty and students will just make it easy, and click on faculty. And there's that good-looking Bradley guy. If you click on the picture, and by the way, there's a lot of faculty members who don't put pictures in there. I don't much care for that. If you don't want to put your picture in, then put in a picture of the dog. Put in a picture of, the car, of your favorite cartoon or something. But the students shouldn't be seeing just the outline shadow, the generic shadow that Leo provides as their representation of a UMUC instructor. So I prefer you upload a picture in there somewhere of some kind if you don't want to do your personal picture. If you click on the picture, this is your profile. This is editable right on the spot.
Edit my user profile.
Right. You can edit this anywhere you want.
Got it.
Easy to do. You'll see that there's very, very little information for personal information. If you bother at all, put a line in there. If you bother at all, fine. Otherwise, I would save that introduction or that description of yourself for your introduction. All right, I'm going to ask you to mute yourself because we're getting a lot of feedback.
What do you want me to do, boss?
Mute your microphone, because we're getting a lot of feedback.
Okay, I'm just using a regular cell phone.
You can
mic.
You can still mute it if you need to talk. Just unmute yourself and come in.
Oh, I gotcha. I'm sorry. Let's see what I can do.
That's all right. Okay. This information should all be filled in. And typically it is. It's not a problem. But it's one of the things that the reviewers will check for. And again, we save this and close it. Okay. Next on the item, the syllabus, one of our favorites. The syllabus was generated out of an agreement between UMUC and the U.S. military. The military wanted an opportunity for soldiers to be able to take a look at the courses in some detail prior to enrolling. You'll remember under WebTyco or the previous systems, the student could not see any of the information about the class until they actually enrolled in the class. And so we created syllabus. The syllabus that you have in your classroom is the exact same syllabus that is visible to the student or anybody who goes onto the www.umuc website and drills down to the classrooms for this session. And right next to where it says the text for the class, they also have a place for the syllabus. And this is what they click on. We'll go to content. We'll come down to syllabus and click on syllabus on the left-hand column. We'll then come over and click on this syllabus to open it up. And this becomes important. It's going to be a little bit dicey. We'll wait till it loads. And I keep telling people, well, then you click on syllabus again. Well, there's 4 syllabus here. Which one are you talking about? I'm talking about this one. I'm talking about this one because you click on this action arrow and it says edit. And that's what we want to do because this is where you're editing the syllabus to bring it up to date. And you see this left hand.
Mr. Brad?
Yeah.
This is Denise Hernandez.
Yeah.
I had a question about syllabus.
Yep.
Is it possible to edit any of the syllabus during the course time?
No.
During when the course is offered?
No. What'll happen is once a certain timeline in the course, and I forget exactly where it is, but it's before the course actually starts, the syllabus is locked. And once it's locked, and this is the public syllabus. Once this syllabus once that's locked, what the soldier can see out on in the public, what the general public can see, and what we can change, or what we see here under syllabus cannot be changed. That doesn't mean you can't change the syllabus. I mean, you can't change your course. It just simply means we can't change this document, and you have to make it very, very clear to your students in news, in emails, in lots of ways. I've changed the syllabus. The syllabus that you see is no longer accurate. This is what I want you to do. This is when this paper is due. This is how many references you have to have, whatever the case may be. But yeah, there'll be a certain point where you're going to want to change the syllabus and you'll be locked out. Okay, we're going to. Yep.
So as we progress through the course, it is possible to eliminate an element or a reading or
Yes.
something as we go through the course.
Yeah. And
but not as it's posted to the general public.
yeah, yes, the short answer is yes.
Okay, that's so that's what I wanted to make sure, because I just felt that there was something that needed to be edited this semester. I did not, but I wanted to ask if it was possible as we go through the course. Is it possible?
And one of the things you may want to, just in anticipation of that, I guess, but one of the things you may want to do is either in that introduction news item, explain that there are several variations of the schedule and the course descriptions and so on. This is the one that is in content, is the weekly content is the one that drives the course. If there's any question about conflict between, and what lawyers refer to as duplicate originals, if there's any question about conflict between assignments or something of that nature, contact me and I will tell you which is the accurate one. Also, it's not a bad idea if you go through the course and you've made a change in Project 2 or the readings in Week 6, remind them that there's a change in Week 6. Make sure you're looking at the right schedule.
Okay.
All right, we'll go down here. You'll see this little yellow mark right here is an editing pencil. And that's going to become important as we go down here. We'll scroll down. This information is all standard. You see my name is already in here. That was loaded. The course description's already loaded. Course introduction's already loaded. Course outcomes are all loaded. This is all done. Class guidelines can be edited. You can edit this. You can click on this pencil and edit this. And that becomes important because you'll read down in the classroom management and you're going to come into things like late policy. If you don't like this late policy, you can change it. This is the default late policy, but it needs to be yours. If you don't like it, change it. This is the extra credit policy. If you don't like it, change it. And you change it by going up here to the yellow pencil, clicking on the yellow pencil, and you get a text box. You can always edit in a text box. And you can back down through classroom management and you get down to extra credit policy. No extra credit policy will be available in this class unless the opportunity is available to all students and generated by your instructor prior to the beginning of the class. Well, guess what? This is my class. And I'm going to say no extra credit will be available in this class, period. That's it. Now, I scroll down here and save it. That changed policy, that changed extra credit policy is now out in the public. And anybody who's reviewing this class to see whether or not they could get extra credit in here sees that I've changed and said no extra credit. Okay, we'll go for the grading information. This is all standard for your course that you should not be changing. Project descriptions. These have been identified for your course unless you find an error in here, and I would hope there wouldn't be, but unless you find an error in here, there shouldn't be any changes. If you want to make a change in a project, talk to me first, and we'll discuss making doing a pilot or something like that. Academic policies come from UMUC. There's no changes there. These are the grade assignments. Class assignments and schedule. This you must change. And this is due last Friday. It's due the first week, it's due the end of the first week that faculty has access. So this is already overdue. Okay. What we put in here is the week, the actual calendar dates for week 1, week 2, week 3, all the way through, and the due dates for any assignments for each week, the actual due dates. Now I went in a little bit more detail and put in the hours and so on. Now you have these dates in the email that I sent you that announced this this WebEx. You have these dates, or you can just figure them out. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's just Sunday through Monday. These dates need to be entered. It's the exact same way. Get rid of this silly thing. You click on
Patrick,
the
I have a quick question.
yeah.
Okay, on that schedule where you were just at, if I want to change the last project from due on the last week, on that last Sunday, if I want to push that back 1 week to week 7,
Yeah.
and I just change, and I just cut and paste basically the project from week 8 to week 7, and save it, is that sufficient?
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of-
Well, you're gonna have to change it, save it there, and you have to change it a couple other places. Remind me, and I'll show you where. A week is
Okay.
a week is a bit much. You'll see that I went back to Thursday in this one. I'm not going to say you can't do a week. I think there's something in the expectations about that. But if you're going to do that, you're really going to have to be robust in your discussions for week 8. Otherwise, your students are going to turn in, remind them that there are points available for week 8, or your students are going to turn in their paper at the end of week 7 and say sayonara.
Okay.
So they're taking a 7-week course instead of an 8-week course, and I understand why guys do that. I totally understand. All I'm cautioning about is make sure that there is in fact, in a previous class, even on Thursday, I had to put up a snapshot of a guy in a T-shirt that said, "I still work here," in a news item. It says, "Hey, we're not done yet. I mean, I got your finals, yeah, but we're not done yet. You got participation that runs till Sunday." So just be aware of that. But how you do
Okay.
that is exactly right. You just simply highlight this, as you see me doing, and drag me in.
Okay.
It's not going to drag for me very well, probably. And I'm going to wish I hadn't done that because now I have to drag it back. Maybe I can.
Tab, this is Art Wallenstein.
Yeah.
The due date, do you put it under the box for the week number, the summary, or over on the right?
I put them on the right. I mean, on the left-hand side, I put the actual week dates. So week 8 runs from July 6th to July 12th. I put the due date for the project around the project. But you can put it anywhere you want, so long as it's clear to the student what's the assignment and when is it due. And this isn't the only place they'll see it. They're also going to see this in the assignment schedule. I mean, this is the syllabus, remember.
Fine. Does week 8 end on a Sunday at 11:59?
Yes, the course that course ends at midnight Sunday night.
Wait a minute. Sorry. Midnight Sunday. Is that Sunday 11:59?
PM.
Or is that Tuesday night
That's Sunday night going into Monday. They have
Fine,
all
11:59 Sunday night. I got you.
courses start at 0001 a.m. Monday morning. Courses end
Right.
11:59 Sunday night. 8 weeks later.
Fine.
Okay.
In 7 years, I never quite got that right. Thank you.
So we'll save that. Actually, I probably should have canceled that, but now I just saved any mistakes I made. And that's the syllabus. Two big areas to watch for. One, that classroom management. If you're going to change policy on a particularly late policy or extra credit policy. Two, you have to put the dates in for class assignments and schedule. And that's already overdue. So if you haven't, please get on that right away. Okay, let me get out of here. And we'll go back to course home. The next item, we already talked about the opening news items and so on. And I wanted to do that when I was covering the red ink and getting rid of the red ink. Discussions. Heart and soul of the classroom. This is a little bit different in the setup, Mary, between LGST classes and criminal justice classes. We're trying to standardize the LGS classes as much as we can, but it's a work in progress. You'll be working with me as a course chair. You'll be working with me on that over the summer. This is another Read Me First policy about participation. This is my late policy again. No extra credit available in this class. This is just a reiteration of what I've said before. I just kind of puts it in the student's face. You see that this is locked. And what happened was, this is all under a forum. Remember when we create discussions, we can create a forum or we can create a topic. This is all created in a forum, and when I do, I lock it, which basically means this is a read-only document. I am not looking for any feedback. I'm not looking for any commentary. I lock it, and it stays locked. Ask the professor, and Mary, this is one of the variations between criminal justice and legal studies. Legal studies has a tendency to put a question each week about, are there any questions about this week's activities, any questions about this week's skill exercise, any questions about this week's discussion. Criminal justice typically has one question at the top of the page, ask the professor, and all the questions throughout the course will appear here. Again, the introduction here is in a forum, but the questions or the opportunity to put that question in is as a topic and under Ask the Professor. So the students can access this, put their question in, the instructor can see it and respond to the question. No work to be done here. These are all preloaded. I created the discussion policy. This is just my work and just food for thought. What I expect for the students, my expectation of in their discussion, how often I expect them to be there, what the minimum requirements are. You see, I get kind of carried away here. I will read every response and comment, and very often offer my own comment. Art, I know you can relate to that. Sometimes I will ask a question in context to the discussion. I will ask a question to the entire class, which means I need to tell the students, follow me, because I expect them to be responsive. I also remind them that every discussion, everything that is submitted at UMUC that is gradable is subject to review for plagiarism. And since we obviously grade discussions, that's subject to plagiarism review as well. Introductions. The heading is set, and that's where it ends. You guys create your own introduction. I said earlier in the overview of the faculty member, there's very little space for introduction. So here's where you're going to want to do it. You can go into the form. Just simply says, edit the form. Let me back up out of here. Be mindful and be watchful of these action arrows. Whenever you hover over one of these action arrows, it's going to give you a pull-down menu or a pop-up menu that'll let you do other things. And we were down at introductions, and here's an opportunity. I'll go down here into the topic, an introduction, and it'll say edit topic, and guess what? I'm going to get a text window. And I'm sure you've seen this, the veterans of you have seen this before. Here's all this information. How do I read it? Look at this 4 arrows in a row here. If I click on that, you get a full screen. If I go back down and click on it again, it reduces. Obviously, full screen is much easier to work with. I'm going to come out of here and go to my first question. Your first question should be visible to the reviewer right now. But my first question under week 1 discussion is the police culture. And I'm going to click on this as though it was a new topic. I'd get this exact same screen if it was a new topic. And I would type in the police culture. And then I would type in all this information. And I typically started out by saying what I expect. For full credit, your response and comments to this question must be posted by 11:59, Sunday the 24th. It's going to be on the calendar. It's in the schedule that we just saw in syllabus. I put it here too, so that students don't wonder, what do I expect? When is it due? Again, all this text is editable. I don't mean you can eat it. I mean you can edit it. Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
The
Yeah.
No, should I be quiet?
No. What you got?
Okay. I was just saying, using the guidance I found over the years is perfect, because in the class that I'm teaching, 497, the assignments are so significant. If they take any initiative, they will never complete the work. So you've really given us an excellent template, and I have found over time I need to follow it to the letter.
All right. Well, let me point out a couple of things on this setup for this discussions. We almost always ignore this anonymous posts. That's just dangerous. You want to be able to attribute remarks to particular individuals. I have mistakenly clicked on the moderator must approve individual posts. That's a pain in the neck. And you wonder why nobody's answered your question all week. You only come to find out that there's a little asterisk someplace that says that those responses are all waiting for your approval. I only ever did that once. But this one is important. User must start a thread before they can read or reply to other threads. I use that a good bit, especially in 400 or upper level courses, and especially toward the end. Whenever I ask a closed question, or a question that has relatively one or relatively few correct answers, because if I don't, and the student gets the right answer and posts that correct answer, every other student will go in there, read that answer, and come back with the exact same answer. Those Sunday morning students who go in and read 3 or 4 other people's responses, who have never looked at the material, never done the research, do some kind of homogenized response based on what they've already read. And the way to avoid that is to require them click on this, and now the student must write their thread and must write their response and post it before they can read anybody else's. That works for me quite well. I don't use it typically in the beginning of the course, but I tell the students that I will be using it. And when I do, I tell them right up here, where I say for full credit, your response and comments must be posted by 11:59 on Sunday. I'll add a line that says, prior to being able to enter your response, you must, or read other responses, you must post your response. So no surprises.
And where are you putting that?
In the text, I check it off on this series of boxes under options, where it says user must start a thread before they can read and reply to other threads. But I also state it in the text box when I introduce the question. I just type it out. So they get that notice twice. Availability. This is up to you. The availability for week 1 must be now, so the reviewers can go in and see that you've got a question. You can end it whenever you want, typically at the end of week 1, and you'll see that mine were due at 11:59 on the 24th. By the way, these timelines come in 30-minute increments, but you can amend them just by clicking on and typing in the number.
Why can't I see any of these elements? Where's the word availability? Or, Pat, right after week 1 discussions, what are you clicking on to get to these things?
I'm not sure where you are, Art. You're not. Are you on the screen with the WebEx screen with us?
No, I went to discussions. All right, so I must be lost. All right.
I'll call me and later or Friday, and I'll walk you through where these options are. Because they're not hard. They're not hard to find, and they're going to be the same place in every discussion. But then see if you can get back to find us on the WebEx screen.
I'm sorry to slow you down. I'll do what I can do.
Okay.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes, dear.
If I could just add, some of the students are on obviously overseas in military and are unable to unable to or having more access to be able to actually work ahead of class scheduled due dates and things of that nature. What I've been able to find is in last semester what I did was in my forensics class was actually had the start and the end date. This semester, obviously with my travel every month since January, I have not set that topic visibility for a start and end date, and has worked out very, very well.
Yeah, I've done it both ways, Denise.
So that way, sorry?
I've done it both ways. Both ways work. It's really up to the instructor's preference.
Yeah, it because of and again having to travel again next week all week, it has been it's easier to leave it open, and I have had students actually go ahead and work further into the final project so that I'm not holding them up of the availability or having to go in and make changes because also of accommodation letter requests as well.
Exactly. Actually, I noticed as you're speaking, I have this wrong. This is the availability. This is when the student can see the topic. And I have an end date, and I don't like to do that. Once the topic is out there, once the discussion topic is out there, I don't make it invisible to them later. I do like a start date, so they know when it begins. The locking is their ability to write. So and I don't have, they can write to this, the way I set this one up, and this is, again, I was confused when I set it up the other night, in the last exercise. Their ability to write is unlocked originally. I don't have, well, it has a start date, but it's today. So when the students get access, they'll be able to write to project or their first discussion right away. I will put an end date on here on the 24th because I want the students. I mean, this is the part where I was talking about personal preference. If I let the students continue to write after Sunday, I never know when I'm going to be able to grade that discussion.
Correct.
And that can be problematic. At one time, I used to encourage them to go back and correct their discussions, and then I just found myself in such a dilemma as to when do I draw a line in the sand in that student's participation that week is over, or where would I find that student's participation if they've gone back and made changes to topics 2 or 3 weeks ago. And again, I display that on the calendar, so they can. The start date when they can start writing typically would be the beginning of the week. But if you put it at the beginning of week 1 now, when the reviewers go to look for it, they won't be able to see it, and they'll think and tell me, "Hey, guess what? Pat Bradley doesn't have a discussion up for week 1," and then I go nuts. If I put that start date for today, that's not a problem. Same thing with the visibility. If I put that in for today, it's not a problem. The end date is when I want to grade it, and I'll save and close that. I always put this on the calendar. When you put it on the calendar, it automatically populates the calendar on the course homepage, right here. Whenever you click on whenever you mark on calendar and discussion, this gets populated. Whenever you create a discussion, whenever you put dates on a project, that calendar gets populated. Let me go back to discussions for a second. And we're going to do a new topic. And the first thing it's going to ask me is which forum. And I'm going to do, well, I did week 1. I'm going to do week 2 discussions. And it's going to be
And it's all right. I'm into the course. I found it.
okay, and it's going to be police budget. And I create the discussion. Now you'll see what I didn't do. I didn't put when it was due. I didn't put down whether or not I was going to restrict their access to enter their comments by read others by entering their own first. But that's how you just enter in your question. Remember, you can add video, you can add pictures to it, you can add a link to it with all these tools. If you have any question about how to do that, we'll do that in a different event. These are these options. Again, user must start a thread. If you want to apply that, it's done right here. The availability, when do I want it available? Well, I don't want it always visible. I'll pick a start date, and that start date will be not June. That start date will be the 25th at midnight, first thing in the morning, and it'll end Well, I don't end the visibility. Display that on calendar. Locking, when can they write to it? They can start writing to it that same May the 25th at midnight. It has an end date on the 31st, 1 minute before midnight, because that's as close as I can get it.
Right.
Display on calendar. And we've just created, every department needs one, needs a budget. How about yours? As the question for topic question for week 2. Which, thank you very much, I'm not going to do. So we'll just cancel that out. But that's how it's done. You simply come down to your, if you're going to create your questions, you click on New. You click on Topic, because the forums are already set. Click on Topic. It'll ask you which form you want to use. You come down to week 7. Put in your topic. User must start thread before they can answer. Like that. Who gets a gold badge? So I put them on notice as to when it's due, and in this case I've said you must respond to your questions first. That corresponds with that check mark. I set when it's visible, which would be on Monday at 11:59. Excuse me, at midnight. Display that, and once it's visible, I don't care if it's visible all the time. And when they can start writing in it, they can start writing that same time, that same Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And it has an end date, and that'll be Sunday. $11:59. Display on calendar. And we just save it and we're done. Now, typically my questions this is my first question. I asked them to do 2 videos. There are actually 2 questions in here. And you'll notice indicates assessment. There is a rubric that is attached to this topic. Leo will allow you to attach a rubric to a topic, which means you can use the grading rubric to assess the student's performance in this question, but only the questions that are in this topic. And in this case, I put in 2 questions. And that's fine. Then for week 1, this is still under week 1 discussions, I put in a second question. This one is available on Tuesday, which I have to change because it's supposed to be Thursday. But in any case, This is available on, says it's on Tuesday. There are additional questions here. You'll see there is no grading rubric because Leo will only allow one grading rubric per topic. And most instructors are not in a position to be able to go in and split the grade book and create additional rubrics for additional grades in the same week's participation. If you want to try that, please call me first and I'll walk you through it. But for what I will have to do, because I've put 2 questions in here and I've staggered them, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go in and grade all of the responses, basically grade them on paper, all those responses for the students for this question, as well as the second question, and grade them against this rubric. So the students will have a benefit of the rubric to see how they got the grade they received. And I know, Mary, for LGST, they don't use the rubrics aren't set up quite this way. But the limitation is we can only put one rubric to a topic without having to split up the grade book, and there's too much variation to split up the grade book that many ways for as many classes in LGS in legal in criminal justice as we have. But you'll notice you can put multiple questions in, and you can put multiple questions in staggered throughout the week, but you only get one rubric to grade against. Okay, enough about discussions. Course at a glance. Let's go back to content. We're going to run over here a little bit, but not much. Come down to course at a glance. Every course should have a course at a glance. This is another original document. You will see, and when you click on it, it should come right up, or it's going to have a file that you click on and the file comes up. It's the course description, it's the goals and objectives, it's the course introduction. Here is the value of the projects and so on. The grade scale, here is the project description, which means if you change the project description in the weekly overview, you're going to need to change the project description here because they are identical. In the syllabus, they're a little bit more generic, so you may not have to change it in the syllabus. But if you change the project description in the weekly schedule, you're going to need to change the project description here. Project 2, you'll see, here's the assignment, final project, mini paper, here's the schedule. And this schedule has all the readings in it. If you change any readings in the weekly schedule, you have to change the readings in the course at a glance. This is where you alert me if you have a broken link or something of that nature, so we can go ahead and work with you to find the changes. If the students want to print out, or if you want to print out what the course requires, what the course looks like, and so on, the place to do that is course at a glance. You can see here week 5, in this left-hand column, week 4, week 3, week 2. The expectation is that if you can, put the dates in here. How do I do that? You click on it anywhere. And you get a text box. You want to make a change in the course let me make it bigger. If you want to make a change in the course at a glance, you click on it anywhere. You get a text box. You go ahead and make the change. And I can't do it on this screen because I've reduced it because of the taping, but you can get to the far left and change the dates as well. or enter the dates, the weekly dates as well. I don't believe that's a requirement. At least I'm not going to come after anybody for not putting dates in Course at a Glance, because you've got dates everywhere else.
Right.
Okay. Course at a Glance. The reading assignments. You see the reading assignments in Course at a Glance. You also see the reading assignments in the weekly schedule. Let's go down to, in this case, week 2. And in this case, it'll say, as an overview and the learning resources. We'll click on the learning resources. Mary, this is going to look very familiar from the framing documents that you and Alice worked on. Here are the OERs, the open educational resources that we are using to substitute for textbooks. So you want to become a police chief. There's the introduction. There's the link. In this case, it's an old UMBC module. What we're asking is, when you do this, make sure the links work. When you go through this, make sure the links work. If they don't, please let me know, because if you're having trouble with it, everybody's having trouble with it. Whoops, I just lost everybody. Let me see if I can get you back. Just bear with me.
Your team is with you, boss. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
yeah. I got to get rid of this first.
This is fine.
Nope, that's not it. I still have you lost. Now you should be back. Didn't want to do that. Well, somehow I'm going to see if I can find my way to getting out of this. There it is. Now I can get rid of that. Find my X's. Okay, I'll get back to my classroom and we can get back in order. Okay, simply go through, for the reading assignment, simply go through your weekly schedule or the Course at a Glance, click on the links and make sure they all work. Projects. Go to assignments. And you should see all the assignments are listed. Mini paper 1, 2, the plagiarism exercise, the final exercise. That's it. Here's something I'd like you to, that you may not be aware. Oh, I'm sorry. You go to My Tools, go to Grades, and there they are again. And here they are with the scores. These scores should add up to 100, with the exception of plagiarism. You see that little marker? That marker indicates excluded from the final grade calculation. So you don't have to worry about that. The rest of these should add up to 100. You will not want to fool with that. It creates major issues for the calculation of the students' final grades. I did want to show you one item which is quite useful. If you go back to Course Home and come down below the news, you're going to see this role switch. My role is the primary instructor. If you click on Learner and switch roles, you are now seeing what the student sees, more or less. And the reason I say that is Leo still knows you logged on as the primary instructor. So it's not pure as far as you're looking as a learner, but it's really close. Um, I think, Jackie, you may have gone through this with somebody and had to have a shill, or I know Susan talked about having to get a student feedback to her exactly what the student could see. In any case, if you go now to assignment and click on Project 1, this is what the student sees. Here's the Project 1 assignment. Here's everything that's due. Here's the date that it's due. And there's the grading rubric. So the student should be able to see exactly what it's going to take for them to get maximum points in all criteria on this project. Do not hesitate to tell the students if they're anxious about how to get an A on this paper, that's how to do it. Read the project carefully along with all the other things. Create an outline, proofread your work, send it in on time, and so on. But here's the project requirements. Here's the due dates. Here's what I am going to be grading your paper against. So when they get this rubric back as a graded rubric on their paper, there shouldn't be any surprises. And this is their view. This, when they click on a project, that's what they see. As a matter of fact, that's their submission window right here. When they up, Professor, here's my project 2, and they hit add a file and upload their paper, this is exactly where they're working. Okay. Nobody here has a well, yeah, you don't have any hybrid class, I don't think. Jermaine, you don't have a hybrid class in OL1, right?
No, sir.
Okay.
It's all online.
Excellent. I want to show you one other thing that has escaped the attention of a lot of folks, and just bear with me 1 second. This has to do with using the grading rubric, and it only works on courses that have already been graded. So I'm going to go back up here and enter a different class. This is the one I told you about. Still work to do. When I called for the paper on Thursday, and I thought people were disappearing on me. I do a lot of that. I actually copied that from Brenda Barney. Brenda puts a lot of illustrations in her news just to spice it up a little bit. In any case, I wanted to go to my tools. I won't do that. You go back to assignments. Final project. Oh, I'm sorry. Just bear with me a moment. I fell into the same rabbit hole that I cautioned faculty about. I'm still in learner mode. I have to go back to my primary instructor. If you don't do that, suddenly you'll say, hey, call the help desk because it's not working for me. It's because you're in learner mode. Okay, we'll go to assignments. I'll go to the final project. I could have done this a little bit easier, but and I'll go to this particular student. And what I want to show you is this student's rubric. A lot of people miss this point, and when we show the student's rubric, when we show the rubric and the student view, you don't see this score and feedback page. But what you know is when you click on these buttons, this score and feedback is completed. No matter where you click, this is what that score appears over here. And this text should apply to what you're reading in the student's paper. The points available are the range of scores that you can use rather than that button. So if you believe that this student should get in each button, it corresponds to the highest grade you could get to get that C for this category. And these 20 points, 70% of that's 20 points. The most you could possibly get is a 15.9. If you get a 1 point higher than, or 1/10 of a point higher than that, it's a B. It's 80% of 20 points, up to almost 90%. If it was 90%, it would be an A, up to the highest point. In any case, if you believe the student should get a 14, not a 15.9, you simply click on this pencil, take out the 15.9 and put in 14 and say why you made the change. And that would become a 14, and that would carry over to the bottom of the score. And that happens in every time you click one of these buttons. Every time you click one of these buttons, that score will change. I don't want to do that. If you don't like, see, I've already done that to her. She had, I clicked on the 10, came over here, changed it to a 9. Here she got a 10. Here she had an 8.9. I came over here, clicked on the button, and changed that to an 8 because she did not use peer review articles. She had outside sources, but they weren't peer review articles. So people forget that these pencils are here. The pencils are to give you flexibility in the scoring in the rubric.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
The biggest thing for instructors to remember, I think, should be that save, before you actually exit out of there. Because I've done that where I've scored someone using the rubric and I've completely forgotten to save it.
Yeah. Actually, you end up having to. You can end up having to save it twice, because if you go all through here and click on the buttons, and you may not do any comments here, but I have a tendency when you get to the bottom, I almost always make a comment at the bottom, and I click on this one and I make some general comments, and then I save it, and that's great. But that just saves the text. You have to save and record the whole rubric. Excellent. Thanks, Deneen.
Yeah, I've learned from my mistakes.
Yeah, it's I can't believe I did that. Now I got to do that whole thing again, and I wrote that so well.
Yeah.
I'll never remember what I told that student, as though they were going to read it anyway. No, I'm sure they read it. I'm sure they do. Okay, that's the story, guys. I hope you found this helpful. The setup is really outlined for you in the checkoff, user checkoff sheets. As I said, if you haven't started the syllabus, please put those dates in as quickly as you can, because those are overdue. Everything else is due by the end of this weekend, this upcoming weekend. The reviewers will start reviewing on Monday morning. I'll start getting reports back and start pulling my hair and tracing down people and so on. And I don't mean to say this out loud, but remember, I'm the guy who decides who gets the courses and who doesn't. So there's a bit of stomach acid consideration here. So those people who I don't have to chase after become my favorite people. The students, we are doing very, very well. Mary, at this point, there are no legal studies courses subject for cancellation. I have a couple of hybrids that are on the bubble for criminal justice. And other than that, we're doing very, very well. I've actually added several sections of courses for the summer already and fully anticipate more. We're also looking at a gush of, typically get a gush of European and Asian enrollments the last week. That may occur as well. Looking forward to that. I want to thank everybody for dialing in. We'll see how the recording goes. If this seems to be worthwhile, we'll be doing a workshop like this the first Wednesday after faculty access for OL2 as well as OL3 for the summer. And think about doing it again that first Wednesday or so of faculty access throughout the fall. We'll see how what the feedback is. Any questions I can answer for folks?
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, Pat. It's been very helpful. I had just a quick question about the date on that final project. You were saying that there was another area I might want to change the date.
Yeah. Okay, we can do that. I'll do it in this classroom. If you go to, I have to get out of here. If you go to content and go down to weekly schedule or however it's laid out, you'll see a pattern like this someplace in your classroom. And go down to week 8. It's entirely likely, where's my weekly schedule? Just lost it. It's entirely likely that the project in week 8 is going to have a due date. Just make sure that if it does have a due date, that if you need to change it for everybody. I'm sorry, if you've changed it in one place, make sure you change it in this weekly schedule as well.
Okay.
And as you approach that, actually, just to be sure, if you've gone to the assignment and you've changed the date, if you've gone to course at a glance and you've changed the date, if you've gone to syllabus and changed the date, and you want to make sure it's not sneaking around someplace else, when your final project is the next project due, because I know you're doing 321 again?
I'm actually doing 370. Race, crime.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, you're doing 370. I think there's only 3 projects, so when you finish project 2 and project 3 is your next project up, I'd make that very clear in a news announcement. To avoid any confusion, please be sure that your final project is due on Sunday, the week 7, not Sunday, week 8. And that way, if some student makes a fuss about it, I can say, listen, it was changed here, it was changed there, and the instructor made a bold announcement that there was a change in the dates. And Deneen, that goes back to the point that you had made earlier also about if you make a change in the syllabus, as long as you make that clear to the students, and obviously the more significant the change, the more you want to, what's the expression, CYA? And if that means an email blast to every student, so make sure that you're in a position to say the student was on notice. That takes care of any issues that I'm going to have.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, thanks again, guys. When we were doing this a year ago, and I had 100 and some instructors going through Leo the first time, there was no way in the world we could give individual attention to questions that people had, or any issues about setting up a discussion or transferring grades or something like that. Now that we're kind of got this under our belts, if people have any questions, please get a hold of me. My cell phone is the easiest because you can get me there about 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. Other than that, I'm in the office Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. I work at home Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I'll be glad to do a one-on-one with you, either by WebEx or I can just simply walk you through it. Okay. Thanks again. Have a pleasant evening, and we'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.